You have just brought your newborn home from the hospital. The environment is perfectly temperature controlled, the bassinet is spotless, and you are monitoring their every breath. Suddenly, your tiny infant lets out a rapid succession of sharp sneezes. An hour later, it happens again. By the end of the day, they have sneezed a dozen times. Your immediate parental instinct is to assume the worst. You worry they have caught a respiratory virus, that the house is too dusty, or that they have developed a severe allergy to the family pet. You start checking their temperature, adjusting the thermostat, and frantically searching the internet for signs of newborn illness. But if we strip away the anxiety and look directly at the physiological data, we find that this constant sneezing is rarely a symptom of sickness. Instead, it is a highly calibrated neurological survival mechanism. Today, we are looking past the fear of the common cold to examine the precise anatomy and neuroscience behind why newborns sneeze so frequently and why this tiny reflex is critical to their respiratory success. Welcome to Baby Mind Chronicles. We are decoding the biological blueprints behind early childhood physiology. By the conclusion of this brief, you will understand the anatomical scale of infant airways, the mechanics of obligate nose breathing, the function of the trigeminal nerve, and how to differentiate between a healthy reflex and a true medical concern. Let us isolate the first major anatomical variable, the microarchitecture of the nasal passages. A newborn's nasal pathways are incredibly narrow, often no wider than a standard drinking straw. Because the anatomical scale is so small, even a microscopic amount of obstruction creates a massive disruption in airflow. A single piece of floating lint, a drop of regurgitated breast milk, or normal environmental dust that an adult would not even notice feels like a giant boulder inside your baby's nose. Furthermore, in the first few weeks of life, a baby's respiratory system is still actively clearing out residual amniotic fluid and mucus from their time in the womb. Their nose is a high-traffic, incredibly tight corridor that requires constant maintenance to remain functional. This brings us to the second and arguably most critical physiological factor, obligate nose breathing. For the first few months of life, human infants are almost exclusively obligate nose breathers. This is an evolutionary design feature that allows them to breathe continuously while latched and swallowing milk. Because they do not have the neurological instinct to simply open their mouths to breathe when their nose gets stuffy, a clear nasal passage is an absolute matter of life and death. When a microparticle enters their airway, their brain cannot rely on a backup system. It must clear the primary airway instantly. To accomplish this, their nervous system utilizes the third mechanism, the trigeminal nerve reflex. The trigeminal nerve is a massive, highly sensitive neural pathway responsible for transmitting sensory data from the face to the brainstem. When an irritant touches the delicate lining of the newborn's nasal cavity, the trigeminal nerve fires a high-priority distress signal directly to the medulla. The brainstem immediately bypasses all conscious thought and triggers a coordinated, explosive release of air from the lungs. Because a newborn lacks the fine motor skills to rub their nose, blow their nose, or snort to clear debris, the sneeze is their singular, highly effective tool for airway management. It is a built-in, automated pressure washer designed to keep the oxygen flowing. They are not sneezing because they are weak or sick. They are sneezing because their respiratory security system is operating at maximum efficiency. So, how do you manage this physiological reality without letting health anxiety take over your day? You simply reframe your diagnostic criteria. A sneeze in isolation, even if it happens 20 times a day, is just a healthy reflex doing its job. You only need to escalate to medical concern if the sneezing is accompanied by actual markers of illness, a fever, thick yellow or green nasal discharge, a persistent cough, or visible signs of respiratory distress, such as their chest retracting hard with each breath. If your baby is eating well, sleeping comfortably, and sneezing clear droplets, there is absolutely zero need for panic. You can gently wipe away visible mucus with a damp cloth, or use a basic saline drop if they sound heavily congested, but otherwise, you must let the reflex run its course. The next time your baby unleashes a tiny sneeze that rattles their entire body, stop rushing to check the thermostat or Googling allergy symptoms. Recognize what you are actually witnessing, a highly sophisticated evolutionary survival protocol executing flawlessly in real time. Their nervous system is actively protecting their airway, managing their oxygen intake, and clearing the path for healthy growth. Your baby is much stronger and far more mechanically sound than their fragile size suggests. Step back, trust their biology, and let their internal defense systems work exactly the way nature intended. You have all the physiological data you need to breathe.